All right. Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. Just check one thing. Just checking my stream on my phone here. Making sure there's no dual audio coming through. So far, so good. Made sure to get the chat up and running in X, so I will monitor that as well as the chats in Kick, YouTube, and Twitch. So if you're on any of those platforms, drop a hello. Nice to see if people are watching or not, or viewing, or have joined. Yeah, no stream yesterday. I was up late talking with Nerdporial about Metroid Prime 4 and all that we hope for it. And I'm now the kid who's still playing his Super Nintendo right after the release of the N64. I hope to get Prime 4 for Christmas. You know, the holidays. Don't have a lot of money to throw around. So maybe I'll get it for Christmas. If not, I'll see what happens and find some extra money somewhere and get it. I will have to play it on my Switch 1, which is fine. I'm actually interested to play it in the Switch 1 first. I'm not sure why. I just think it'd be a nice kind of comparison to play it in the Switch 1, and then eventually when I do get a Switch 2, I can play it again. Yeah, I'm definitely going to replay Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on my Switch 2. Once I get one. No, why not? I mean, the updates. I do have a yearly Nintendo subscription. Okay, that's the boost ball. I do have a yearly Nintendo subscription, so I do get those for free. Sort of, not for free. You know what I mean. Okay, I got the super missile now. Just trying to figure out where I'm going. I need to get back down there. I went through a portal. That's the boost ball. I believe it's the boost ball arena. Got the key in there. Alright. We're going to go back out that way. So, happy Friday, everyone. I hope it's a good day. Thinking and playing is still, and talking at the same time is still rather new to me, and I'm trying to make sure that I got some basic idea, just so I can show you guys how the sausage is made. Trying to have some basic idea of what I'm gonna say before I join, just so I can give you guys something more of substance. I don't just want to be a reaction streamer. Sorry, my throat's a little sore. Mostly because I don't feel like I'm very good at it. There's some streamers out there who are really good at with their emotions and their screams and their yelling and all that fun stuff to make those clips and whatnot, but I am not good at that. Nor do I really want to be. As I've stated before in previous streams, my goal is to try to to contribute to the discussion on games and game design so that that discussion can deepen and we can have more effective discourse on it. Much like bird clock time. Much like, you know, the discourse has deepened around books and movies over the years. I feel like I think it's Arrested Development where Tobias is he has his little cutoff situation that he goes, and I think it's in Arrested Development. He holds up a sign that says "We demand to be taken seriously," and that's kind of what I feel like. I demand that video games be taken seriously by the wider public. That they wouldn't be. We've moved on from the childish, simpleton view that video games are just for kids, because they are clearly not. Me as a 38-year-old man. Games. I've grown up with games. I've watched them evolve from what they were to what they are, and we cannot. It's foolish to ignore that kind of the discourse now, and just relegate them to a child's plaything. So with that being said, I will try to have some game design topics of discussion, and maybe even some off-game design topic stuff that I feel like is ancillary to game design. And by that, or games in general, you know, by that I mean the things that game design can affect, like worldview and how one perceives reality and things like that. I also want to, you know, respond to comments that I get in my shorts and my streams as well, and you know, the chat when it's available. So, like yesterday, you know, I had some brief interaction with some other people on X about the concept of the yellow paint issue, which I'm always harping on. And how do I get there? Yes, there we go. And something along the lines of the yellow paint issue is there's a concept of something in game design called the magic circle, and that's basically their cute little term for describing a magic circle, a magic imaginary circle that one must always step into in order to engage with a game, because you are in effect engaging with a game. When you engage with a game, you are interacting voluntarily with a set of rules that will restrict you in some way. And because those set of rules are designed, and if they're designed well, you now have a game. You have a purpose, you have an objective. Now, the magic circle is called such because it's a circle you must step into. You have to voluntarily interact with it. And the magic circle is a powerful concept, but it is also extremely fragile. Meaning that a player can very easily step out of it, or be drawn out of it against their will. And this is directly related to the concept of immersion. And how immersion is also very powerful, but it is also very, very easily broken. And so the magic circle can be shattered by like another player. When you take video games in mind, I remember back in the early days of Dota. Now I'm really showing my age here. Dota started out, if you're a youngin, Dota started out as a mod of Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3: The Frozen Throne specifically. And it it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was really fine tuned. Ice Frog was the developer who made it. But there was none of the fancy stuff that we have today in League of Legends or Dota. There wasn't a queue system. There wasn't a way to find out which role you wanted. The roles were there, but they were very like, the way you got your role was you as soon as the lobby started with your team, you had to be the first one to chat what you wanted. So if I'm a support and I really want to be a support, I have to write support really fast. And if I got there before everyone else, that was it. And if two people got there on the same time, that's when the trouble started. So yeah, when it comes shattering the magic circle in the context of Dota was basically one person would get angry that they didn't get the role they wanted, so they would then proceed to just either quit the game outright, which again shatters the magic circle, it ruins the game for everyone else, or in the game they would start to intentionally feed the other team. They would run down the lane and as an act of defiance that they didn't get what they wanted. In a sense, they would rage quit, but they'd also rage quit for you as well. And some players would want to keep trying on, keep trying to win despite that player doing it, but really it made it impossible. In a different sense, in a board game, the magic circle can be shattered by the person who just doesn't want to play by the rules. Or if you're watching a movie, the person who always comments about how, oh, that's unrealistic, or that is, and they draw you out of the immersion. That's the idea. Now this can also happen because of the game design itself, which to me, what draws me out of the magic circle a lot of the times is when I know that the game is patronizing me, which is why I am upset about the laziness of the yellow paint. And it is a bit subjective, I get it. Some people aren't bothered by the yellow paint stuff. But for me, I think to some extent everyone has their own line when it comes to the yellow paint. And even someone who it doesn't bother, they have that line at some point where the game is designed and it will draw them out of the immersion. For some people, it's lengthy text boxes that just do exposition right at the beginning of the game. For other, or like, you're in a tutorial. Hi, Publius. It's good to see you, man. You're in a tutorial and it's like, the ancient world was a dangerous place. Press A to fire your rocket launcher. It's like, in the context of the game, that the game's story, it doesn't make sense, but the developer is trying to find a way to describe the controls without making it without making you have to go into a menu and look at the controls. So that kind of thing bothers some people, if that makes sense. Publius says if it's much better in standard MMO where the group just bullies someone to being the healer. Pressuring people to adopt societal norms. It's a double-edged sword for sure, but sometimes it works. I remember this room specifically because I know that at the bottom of it there is a location, there is something down there that I have to power bomb, and I don't have the power bombs right now. And I'm pretty sure I have to come back to this point, and I can't do anything right now about it. Unless I can scan these. Yeah, I gotta get around behind it. Okay, I think I gotta come back. Yeah, immersion in game design is... There's something that went around a while ago was this rant. I forget the name of the developer, but his rant was on immersion. And his overall point was that immersion doesn't mean more realistic atmospheres or more realistic gameplay. It's something a bit more nebulous. Like with graphics, for example, really high def, lifelike graphics can be immersive, but you know, anyone who's been immersed in a game before, you know, if you're older than this current generation, which has superb lifelike graphics, you'll know that you don't need to have lifelike graphics to be immersed in a game. There's more important things that immerse you in a game other than graphics or realism. You know, like people liked how in the Metal Gear Solid games, at some point, you know, you had to eat, or you would get hungry, or you know, all that kind of stuff. And yes, that is realistic, and I only say that because that's the first one that came to mind. I think it was Snake Eater was the one that did that. I could be wrong. I haven't played it, so in that game it worked because of the way that game was designed. But in other games, you know, there comes a line where, you know, like if you want a super realistic game, your character will need to sleep and need to go to the bathroom and all that fun stuff, and you know, at some point it gets a little ridiculous. Immersion doesn't mean realism. That's my point. And there's a whole host of things that can break immersion beyond your graphics quality. It can be a glitch in the game. It can be a poor game design. Something that happens that draws you out of the game world. And more recently, that it can be poor storytelling. It can be shoehorning in your own political or cultural opinion in a way that doesn't quite fit, and everybody can tell, oh, this is... I've now reached the point of the story where the story writer's now on their soapbox, and they are expressing their view on this current real-world political issue, and now I have to sit through it in order to continue to enjoy this game. That kind of thing. That kind of thing can really break immersion, and I think it's the culprit of a lot of immersion breaking in modern day games. Yeah, that's a good example. Publius, the going to a play. Plays have a way of drawing you in, even though the sets themselves aren't hyper realistic. It could even just be an abstract set. I remember watching my wife and I watched it in Korea, but it was streamed from London, the London theater, and the set was just like this weird abstract object that the cast could walk on and up and down, and it was like a staircase and like a few boards, and that was it. And they did the whole play I think it was some Jane Austen book where, oh my god, is Jane Austen the name of the author? No, what is it? It was Jane Eyre. I think it was Jane Eyre. And, you know, the actors did such a good job of acting that it drew you in, even though it didn't look like an actual set or like a realistic set. So yeah, that's a great example. Or a game that everyone raves about that I've never played is Undertale. You know, it was a game to really prove to people that you could have like 8-bit graphics and still be a really cool story that immersed people. And this, of course, all ties back to the desire that we have to interact with fantasy in a way that provides a bit of escapism, which, as I've mentioned before, is not a bad thing. It becomes bad when that's the only thing you want and you don't interact with the real world in a healthy way. But it is, I think, there is a healthy amount of escapism one can get to improve one's own view of the world. By like analyzing fantasy settings, you can better understand the real world that we all inhabit. I at least think that was Tolkien's view, and probably C.S. Lewis. Okay, I gotta get up there. Oh, okay. I've been up there before. I have to go back to the portal. So yeah, the discourse on Metroid Prime 4 has begun, and it has not changed. There are people who love it, and people who don't love it. Hang on, I want to read this here. It goes, Publius says, it goes to the core of a lot of AAA dysfunction, or even big Hollywood dysfunction, is throwing money at graphics and FX instead of the much cheaper qualities that don't need buckets of money in gameplay and writing. Yes, yeah. The technology available increases the cost, but also creates this kind of faux need for it. They think they need to have all the best graphics, which again drives up the costs. And can kind of be this circular thing where we need the best stuff, so we have the most powerful system or the most realistic graphics, and therefore we can have the most immersion. Okay, this way. Yeah, so what I was going to say about the Metroid Prime 4 discourse is, you know, it still is what it is. Some people don't like the changes Metroid Prime 4 has brought about. Other people do. I haven't played it yet. It'll be about a month before I get into it. So if you, like me, don't want any spoilers, come watch me play. Come watch me play Metroid Prime 2 instead, because I will be going through it, and I hope to get through Metroid Prime 3 as well. That is, if I can also learn to play a game and talk at the same time and beat it. If it gets bad, I'll play some offline just so I can speed things along. Alright, getting a little bit of a drop in frame rate, which I'm not happy about. So sorry if the audio starts to get choppy. Hopefully my audio is not crackling too much. Okay, I need to go. I need to get up there. I have the boost ball. Okay, I have the boost ball. I gotta think like that now. I should probably get out of the Torvus Bog. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know how old you are, Publius, but if you are old enough, I remember when Wind Waker first came out. Everyone, I say everyone, but I knew it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because we were all hoping for a super duper dark Zelda game to follow up to follow up Ocarina of Time, and we got we got Wind Waker with the cartoony graphics, and everyone was really upset about it. And over time, it actually became a fan favorite. You know, we didn't have a good grasp of it right at the start. It makes me wonder, because that was in the early days of the internet, and so it makes me wonder what people will say about this game in a few years. And my guess is it'll still sell well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can admit you're being irrational. I admit that I can be that I can't objectively critique Ocarina of Time because of the nostalgia it holds for me. So it's fine to be irrational about it, just as long as you admit it and know it's happening. Okay, I'm gonna leave the area, the Torvus Bog, and hope that my boost ball will get me to the next area. Oh yeah, so the hint system. I will admit, I am sort of relying on the hint system here to help speed things along when I'm off track, because I'm thinking and talking and all that is difficult. But I will say the hint system is a good example of a developer trying to point you in the right direction within the confines of the world. Okay, it's not just simply the map at its base, the map simply pops up and shows you on the map, hey, go here. But they added a nice little touch in both Metroid Prime 1 and 2, and I think Prime 3. It doesn't just say, hey, go here, you're off track. It'll say something like, seismic activity detected, or abnormal temperatures detected, or creature movement increased, or something like that. That it's just a tiny little thing that is like, oh, I still have a suit that is scanning the area and can function sort of on its own and will provide helpful information for me. So it's, at its base, it's just like, hey, you're off track, go here. But within the game, they try to maintain that immersion. They try to maintain you've stepped into a world. You've stepped into the magic circle of Metroid Prime 2, and they're going to try to keep you there and not draw you out of the game. So the hint system, you have the ability to turn it off if you don't like it. But even if you keep it on, you're going to still get an immersive experience. This is bad. Pretty good. Like even Metroid Fusion, try to do that well with Adam, the computer, giving you instructions and things that they've detected. So there's ways to do it. And that's my overall point here. I'm not saying guiding the player you shouldn't do it. I'm saying make a quality attempt at it. Don't just have a button that like you hold it down and it immediately shows you the way to go, like some games have been doing. Resident Evil 6 was the first time I encountered that, where you literally have a button, you hit it, and your character brings up a little thing and looks at it, and there's an arrow and goes like, and like that's the way to go. dilemma is, Publi says, how do you make X something? How do you make X something a player will notice without putting yellow paint on it? I still have moments where I'll walk around looking for an objective and have to go to a YouTube video. Yes, that is the struggle. If you don't make it obvious enough, even your subconscious brain will miss it. There's like levels to it. I feel like you make it so subtle that nobody notices it, and then that's bad. You don't want that. You make it just subtle enough that your eyes and your brain naturally perceive that it's the way to go, and it guides you without you knowing you're being guided. I feel like Metroid Dread pulled that off. I can't think of any other games off the top of my head, but that is very difficult to do, and it has to do with understanding like how to draw a person's eye in a particular direction, with the way that even like the shot is established when you walk into a particular area. Like, I remember reading about Breath of the Wild, and that game is all about establishing shots and grand set pieces, and I believe something they tried to do was to make it so that when you have a good view of the horizon, you always have 3 points of interest in mind. Or not, sorry, 3 points of interest visible. Yep, here we go. Luminoth weapon detected. System discovered on Aether. So again, great example of the little thing they do to try to make it more immersive rather than, hey, you're off track. That kind of thing. Hall of the Honored Dead. Okay. I'd have gotten there eventually. Gotta go through that door. And now I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, the guiding the player. Yeah, Breath of Wild, they had tried to have those at least 3 points of interest available to the player at all, in sight of the player at all times. Because Breath of the Wild is a very not hand-holdy type of game. It is and isn't, because of your Sheikah slate. But it does give you the freedom to go where you want. Okay, yeah, so that's that minimal level right there, which is good. I think you want to aim for that, but like in this case with Metroid Prime, there are times when you, the developer, know, okay, this is going to be a hard puzzle. I want to give the players a little bit more to work with here and point them in the right direction. How do I do that without them all of a sudden knowing that they're in a video game? And then this level is also okay, but I would restrain myself as a developer to not use it too much. And I think the Metroid Prime series does have that restraint on it. Like, you have to wander around for a while and go in wrong directions for a while before that hint system pops up. And of course, you have the ability to turn it off. And then the bad way to do it, I believe, is the yellow paint. It's very obvious that it's there, and to the player, it's now become a meme. So that right there should kind of disqualify it. At least choose a different color or something, or a color that fits with the. And I get that the color. The idea was that this is a contrasting color with the environment, so therefore the player will notice it, and it's too noticeable. That's the idea. It doesn't fit in. Like, just to bring up Resident Evil, just fell there. Just to bring up Resident Evil 5 again. Oh, sorry, Resident Evil 6. Some of the destructibles fit with the environment. Like, you're in China, there's these ornate vases that are in the environment, and I was like, hey, maybe I can break that. And I could break it, and that's good. But then you're in this dingy lab, and the destructibles are these bright blue, pristine-looking boxes that really stand out against the grungy lab. And that is like, okay, this is out of place. It's not really good. Bees. So yeah, I will admit it's not easy. It's not easy to guide the player without them knowing they're being guided, or to guide them directly without it feeling too much of like a break in the game, in the immersion of the game. And yes, as you say, yeah, it depends on the section of the game as well, the tutorial section. Which, to bring it back to Metroid Prime 4, it does seem that, you know, the Miles character is part of the tutorial. So a lot of the complaints about him were probably overblown. But who knows? Maybe once people beat the game, and maybe he'll have a cool character arc, and he'll become a fan favorite in about 5 years. And then everybody will argue about how they always loved him, and everyone else except for them was overreacting. That is the way of the internet. Statue of Junk, the fourth Sentinel of Aether. Junk was Sentinel when the Ing was brought to war in Aether. He died in battle while defending the Great Temple. I love all this because you get here and the Marines died, the Federation troopers died suddenly, but it's very clear that this battle went on for ages and ages because, you know, must have taken some time to build that. Alright, what do we got here? Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Alright. Okay. Ah. Alright. Okay, hang on. Alright, where am I trying to get this? Puzzles are way more stressful when you know people could be watching you try to solve the puzzle. Okay. Nope. Nope. Okay, that can't go there. No. Alright, I gotta do this one again. Okay, hang on. Oh, the light went away. I gotta figure out where those two meet. Do they meet? Okay. Alright, so they stay there. No, That's not right. There we go. Okay. Good. Okay. That's good. Now back to this one. Yeah, yeah. My being a killable character would have would have also kind of remedied the situation. Unfortunately, I when I was on my okay, don't want to do that. When I was chatting with Nerdporial the other night, uh my one of my again one of my fears for Prime 4 was that there won't be any real it'll have most of the somber tone. Did I do it? Or did I have to put it the other direction? Looks like I did it here, but don't think I did. Oh, okay, hang on. Maybe this is it. No! I don't want to move that one. Yeah, I actually when it comes to NPCs in Prime 4, I I hope that they didn't shy away from any serious storytelling. And by that I mean I sort of hope that not all of these characters survive. I know that sounds weird, but it'll raise the stakes of the story. And it could, like, if you get the feeling that none of these characters are ever actually in danger, that's bad storytelling. A great way to get you to care about the characters is to just simply put them in danger at first. Make it. All right, I think I have to reverse everything. Ugh. Put them in danger. Let us know. Like maybe kill one of them off pretty early in the game, so that it raises the stakes. And lets you know that maybe your actions as Samus could result in the death of your squad mates. That'd be pretty cool. You know? make it like a true D&D, or those, Morrowind or Oblivion, where you can just kill everyone. And that's the thing too. I don't think they will do that. Nintendo has a reputation for quality, but also not too much darkness in their games, and I say that having played Ocarina of Time, I think, was the last really dark mainline Nintendo game that we got. Alright. What am I missing here? Okay, this is... Okay, blah. Alright. So, okay. Spinner, tell me something, Dead Luminoth. Structural nut. The object is part of a containment system, is secured by a series of rotating locks around it, which are in turn controlled by a group of spinners. Thank you. Right, what am I not seeing here? Do I really have to look up a solution to this puzzle? Alright. Problem is there's nothing on the outside that is convincing me that when did this game come out? Young me figured this out, so I should be able to figure this out. Alright, okay. It's yellow. Maybe I need to get them all to be yellow. Yes, that is it. Look at that. Okay, so that's bad. We don't want that. Let's get it back to where it was. Okay, let's get out of this one. Nope. Okay. Now, oh, this is not going to be right because this is going to move one of the other ones. Oh, thank God. Okay. Yeah. Knew I could do it. So yeah, I was lamenting about how they're during that live stream that I did that they're most likely not going to make it more serious. All the characters will probably survive again, which is fine. You can still have a good story with it. But there's just a lot of, I don't know. I feel like they could have taken a bit more serious angle with what I've seen. And again, I am speaking as someone who hasn't played it, so I get I am kind of, not really knowing what's going on. Okay, so charge the seeker missiles. Does this happen automatically? I ran into a problem last stream where I didn't. It says hold down the 2 button. Nope. Oh, nice. Yes, that's okay. This is going to be a little difficult because the missile button is the same as the look button. Sorry, the thumb I use to look around on my control stick is also the one to fire the missiles, and I have to hold down the missile one to look around. So I'm gonna have to pull like a Mega Man X control, like original Mega Man X on the on the SNES button hold to get this working. If you've never played Mega Man X on the original SNES, you'll know that the dash button, you could hit A, which also is the thumb that you need to control your jump ability, or you could hit left or quickly tap left or right. And if you did a dash at the same time you jumped off the wall, you could get a dash jump, which is like a necessity for effectively beating the bosses. The problem was, because of that, you couldn't dash jump off a wall and hold down the fire button to get a charge shot off, unless you managed to hit the A button to dash along with the jump button. So you hit A and B at the same time. So that led to players like myself and my brother and my friends all contorting our fingers to make sure that we could hold a charge and dash jump off the wall. So yeah, we had to do a little bit of that here. I could mess with the controls, and I probably will at some point, but no, we'll see. All right, we're making progress. Not as fast as I'd like, but you know, whatever. I do like that it seems that no one is complaining about how Samus talks. I think Samus not talking is fitting for her character. And I've said numerous times that she should be socially awkward. I think that'd be a cool character trait rather than just generic hero. Metroid Dread, she's got a lot of attitude, and I liked that as well. But if they're not... I kind of feel like Nintendo knows what they're doing. If they're not happy with how... If they're not happy with how a character's turning out, then they'll put their foot down. I don't know how much pull they have with Retro Studios. I imagine quite a bit. So if Retro Studios wanted to give Samus voice acting, which most likely they probably did, then, and Samus doesn't have voice acting, it's probably because of Nintendo. That's my bet. And as much as I do not like Nintendo's business practices that are very brutal towards people they perceive to be stealing their IP, their artistic department, I think, is still top-notch. And you can make your own decision on whether or not you want to support Nintendo based on that. So, do your own thing. But I think it's a little bit of a catch-22, I feel like, because I want to support quality art, which I still think Nintendo produces. But there's always, you know, no studio's perfect. There's always going to be someone there who doesn't align with your own values, or says something you don't like, or does a business practice you think is either corrupt or vicious or whatever. You know, the very technology I'm used to playing this, you could make an argument, is supplied by corporations who take advantage of people around the globe. So it's not easy to make that sort of decision. But what I can do is I can point out quality art that I believe is helpful for humanity as a whole, and drive people towards it, and just kind of do what I can in that way, in that realm. Hey, we're back at the temple. Look at that. Is there a save? Yes, save. Have I been here before? Yeah, maybe I have, and I just wasn't able to get through it. That's weird. All right. Wow, that suit looks so cool. Okay, I think I'm gonna use this as a good time to stop. It's nearing 6 o'clock Central Time for me, which means my son's probably going to come through that door in a few minutes. Hopefully he'll wait till at least 6, but then, got to get lunch ready, got to do the father thing, and get my kids off to school. So, thanks for watching. Publius, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Thanks for chatting. That was fun. Hope you can join some more in the morning and continue the conversation. But, yeah, thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you all later.